Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Cain.
And today we have with us Jason Anbara. Jason is a mortgage broker in Ottawa with Mortgage Alliance. He's been cited for his incredible success. He was recognized by CMP in 2019 as a young gun, and then again in 2022 as a top 75 broker. Jason's also been recognized as the #1 Mortgage Alliance broker in Canada for 2019, 20, 21, and 22.
Thanks for having me on the show, Joe and Cain.
Yeah, we came across you from a CMP article that came out a couple of weeks ago that highlighted your transition from banking to brokering, and that really piqued our interest. How was that for you? Was it a tough transition? What made you make that decision?
Yeah, so it was a very tough decision because obviously when I was at my role at the bank, I was a top performer there. And usually when you're a top performer, you're comfortable and you don't want to get out of that comfort zone. So stepping out of that comfort zone was a huge challenge for me. But the grass was greener on the other side. And obviously, if you look at how the market shifted between 2015 to now, having one option if you're a mortgage broker, having one option is definitely not the way to go. So I'm thankful that I made that switch.
That's fantastic. Did you make the switch primarily to be able to help your clients with more choice?
Yeah. So basically at that point, I was hitting the point where I was referring more business outside of the bank than I was doing inside the bank. So right. It stopped making sense to me because I tried to fight as much as possible to stay where I was comfortable. But when you're doing half the deals that you're getting and you're referring half of them out, then it starts to make sense that you need to make a change. And that was back then when the banks were actually very aggressive with approvals, not compared to what they are today,
right?
Where it's almost impossible to get something approved right now.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
Just backing up a little bit, actually, Jason, what sort of prompted you to get into the industry to begin with? Like, kind of what was your journey that led you even to get into the banking to begin with?
Yeah, well, I've been in the finance industry since 2006. So I started off on the credit card side, doing customer service, one of the major credit card issuers in Canada, customer service, collections, marketing. So I moved around over there up until 2011. That's when I applied to become an assistant manager at one of these major banks. I went through 3 or 4 interviews, got the job, and then ended up finding out that the salary that was being offered to me was less than what I was already making. So I went through that whole process and then declined the job. And they're like, okay, well, if you want to make some real money, then you got to go on commission. And I'm like, okay, so what can I do on commission? They're like, you can become a mortgage development manager. I'm like, okay, well, let's try that out. I've had a mortgage since 2007 because my parents pushed me to buy a property when I was 20 years old, but I didn't really know what mortgages were when I joined.
Smart decision to buy a property when you're 20. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You thank your parents for that now.
You must look back and think great investment choice.
Yeah. Back then, though, it was very affordable, and you had the 0% down payment back then, and
the good old days.
What were some of we have a lot of our audience very new to the industry or new to financial services. What were some of or maybe one or two, the challenges that you first came across, especially when you joined on the mortgage side as a commission salesperson, and then maybe how you overcame any of those?
Yeah, like when you're obviously when it's pure commission, you can't expect to be making any money anytime soon. You got to build the momentum. It's all about momentum when you're on commission, when you're in this industry. You got to build it up, and that could take months and even years for you to go full throttle. And you could build it up for a few months and then take your pedal off the metal and destroy everything within a couple of weeks. So you have to be very persistent, very consistent. I would have a backup, or you need to have some kind of backup because it's going to probably take you a few months to even start getting paid. As long as you can get through that, then, like in my opinion, some people even start at part-time. I think that you should go full-time because the faster you do your time, the faster you're going to see results. So if you're going to go part-time, it could take you double or triple the amount of time to start building that momentum. So
by backup, do you mean like having kind of a nest egg of savings first to be able to get into it full-time right away without having to work another job?
Or a partner that you live with that has consistent income coming in, or if you want to live with your parents for a little bit until you can get going. But it's definitely worth putting the time and effort into because it's a very rewarding business.
What did you find was most difficult? Knowing that you come from the banking background, I'm sure that you already had a stable of clients.
Yeah.
But maybe when you were starting out, first getting your clients, what did you find was most difficult about getting new clients?
Well, back then, that was like almost 9 years ago. So, having become or people dealing with brokers wasn't really the thing. People were used to dealing with the banks, and they wanted you to be at working for a bank. Right now, those times have changed. People are actually Canadians are much more familiar with the way that things work. They know that mortgage brokers work for them, not for the banks, and they know that we don't cost them anything if we actually qualify them with an A lender or a bank lender. So people are a lot smarter about it, and it's a lot easier these days to convince them to work with you as a broker. And back then, I'd say the biggest challenge if you're starting in this industry is to know your products. Because if you have a mortgage broker, like we have over 86 different lenders at Mortgage Alliance that we can work with, you have to know what options are out there so that you make the most efficient decision for your client and get things done. Because we are in a race against time. Whenever we get a file, we only have 10 days or 5 days to get it done. So the faster you can know what products are available to you, so that you can fit the right solution for each client, then that would be the biggest challenge in my opinion. Because there's a lot of brokers that I get deals from. Like I get deals from clients all the time that the other broker didn't know how to get it done when we know exactly how to get it done. So that's the difference. Product knowledge, I would say. So the faster you know your products, the better you're going to become.
Do you remember several years ago when I was marketing to other brokers, when I was actively marketing to other brokers about private lending, private funds that I had, and I would get co-broker deals that they could broker themselves directly with an institution. They just didn't know where to go. So it's such a good point about knowing your lenders.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on something, Jason, you said earlier about there's been historically some common, I think, misconceptions about, what brokers do or who they are, who they represent. Do you think that still exists today to a large degree? I mean, I think you alluded that it's a kind of a smaller degree of that now, but maybe what do you think? Are there any common misconceptions now about this profession?
So there's a lot more people out there that are using brokers, especially the younger generation. People used to go follow their mom and dad's advice, and their mom and dad used to usually go to the bank. The brokers were only there for alternative lending back in their days. Right now that we have access to A lenders, we have access to better rates than the bank can even offer, because the bank that you're dealing with knows that we can send you there or we can send you to their competitors. So usually we get more negotiating power by you dealing with us through the same bank that you're going to go to anyways. So I think it's a lot more accepted. Brokers in general have done a good job marketing themselves and making it clear that it doesn't cost you more to deal with a broker. It's actually free. If you qualify at your bank, then you qualify with us for free. So why would you go and have one option when you can have 86?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great message for consumers to hear, because I think there's still, even if we're at a 50% market share, that's 50% that don't really realize that. Yeah. Now, when it comes to marketing yourself, as you were just talking about, what do you feel is more important? Do you feel like, there's obviously no right or wrong to this, but what do you think is more important? Having like a brand like your national brokerage Mortgage Alliance behind you, or focusing on like social media and building your own personal brand? Or are they both equally important?
Yeah, I'd say both are important, but I like to promote my own brand because people are going to be dealing with me directly. So I need to be the one that they trust. Obviously, when you have an amazing brand like Mortgage Alliance, which is probably the biggest in the country right now with over like thousands and thousands of agents, the reason I chose them is because they have access to the most lenders out there. So that's going to give me more products that will be available for my clients. So there's other brokerages that are smaller. They're as like trustworthy and as all that, but they probably have 10 or 20 lenders as options. So that's why I chose Mortgage Alliance. They're big. They've been well established in the Canadian community, and I believe social media marketing is huge. That's going to be more of a personal branding. Like I promote myself and my team. And obviously we have Mortgage Alliance in the background to back us up the whole time. So, yeah,
that's great.
And just I think you touched on, or almost touched on, something about sort of mortgage agents having grown, or the industry grown. What do you think is going to happen in the future? You see the role evolving, changing, especially with different technologies coming in and maybe disrupting possibly. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that as a mortgage broker, because we have alternative solutions, like they can come in and automate like probably a lending and have you go online and fill out an application. If you're a AAA salaried government first time home buyer that's going to put the good down payment and your credit's good, there's a way to automate all that, but there isn't a way to automate alternative deals. If you're self-employed, if it's complicated, if you have 20 properties, we're still going to have a role. And I think that because of that, our role is going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think
you can only automate a certain type of deal. You can't automate everything. You can't automate private lending. You can't automate logical lending.
And I think there's something to be said for the human to human, the connection and sort of having that person, the face behind everything is super important. The authenticity of that.
It's most people's biggest purchase of their life. So you kind of want to deal with the human when it comes to something that's going to be the biggest purchase of your life. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know what, we talk about this every now and then about how AI is going to support mortgage brokers and not replace, right?
Yeah. Exactly. 100%. It could replace it on very, very rare occasions, but especially nowadays with the way everything's so complicated, it's hard to qualify. AI can't fix that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So do you have another question, Cain?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm thinking, is there anything happening right now? Like, is there any challenges that you're facing in the market that are especially important now that you think it might be nice to sort of share with people that are considering coming into this industry?
Well, right now is probably the best time that you could probably join the industry because you're starting off at a level playing field with everyone else. If you started 2 years ago, everyone was going guns blazing and everyone was busy. You weren't able to make any connections. You weren't able to talk to realtors. You weren't able to network because everyone was just too busy for you. So right now you're starting at a perfect time where it's kind of like an even level playing field. Everyone has the same momentum to build, because everyone's slowed down. So if you're starting now, it's a huge advantage than compared to if you started a couple of years ago. So it's a fresh start for everybody right now. So I think next year is going to be a lot better than it was this year. So the perfect time to start would be now.
Jason, that's an amazing point. Yeah, you know what? I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people like new agents on our team that started a couple of years ago, even though the market was going crazy, they couldn't build any partnerships because everyone else was busy too.
Yeah.
Right now, if you want to take a realtor for a coffee, they'll probably go with you. But if you called them during COVID, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a huge advantage right now. But you have that window of opportunity maybe for another 6-7 months, and then after that, if it gets busy again, then it's back to square one for everyone else.
Excellent point. Yeah. So something that I know we get asked a lot is what do you, in your opinion, is the most important or one of the most important things to ask a client or to tell a client in the very first conversation they have with you? And they call you up and, we know that you only have one chance to make a good first impression. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, obviously we want to present ourselves. You want to explain the process. You want to set expectations right off the bat, just so there's no surprises down the road. We've done this. I've done it thousands of times, so I can break down exactly what's about to happen to the client. And then as long as we stick to that same plan, then everything runs smoothly. So it's being upfront, being honest, and making sure that they can, or you can earn their trust.
Absolutely. Yeah, the trust is an incredibly important aspect in these types of transactions. Yeah.
And Jason, do you think there's anything else that, going through some of your stuff, it seems like you found a lot of success. So is there anything that you think sets you apart or other successful agents apart from the industry? Anything specific or just generally that you could say, yes, that, doing this or having this mentality actually does set those people apart? Like that's common between them.
Yeah, a lot of people think that working smart over working hard is the way to go. I think working hard is just as important as working smart. So I think I'll be number one because I'm willing to work harder than everyone else. Like I was doing when I had no deals coming my way, I was doing door hangers minus 40 degrees outside just to get one lead. And I did 1,000 door hangers and I got one lead, and that felt like a success to me. So as long as you keep on trying, you will win.
That's fantastic.
Don't stop working. Yeah.
That resilience.
That's all about the momentum. It's building momentum. If you find yourself sitting down doing nothing, then you're losing momentum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know that what is it? A body at rest tends to stay at rest, and
Yeah.
that's perfect way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything that crossed your mind when you're thinking about talking to us that you wanted to get out there that we haven't asked you yet?
Well, I just wanted to encourage anyone that's thinking of joining the industry that this is actually a very good time to do so. And if they have any questions, they can reach out to you guys. They can reach out to me. It's our pleasure to help. We have a team of around 80 agents here in Ottawa. So if you're if you're in the capital and you're looking to join someone, we have a lot of new agents on the team, a lot of support, a lot of management, a lot of training available to them. And yeah, so I think if you're thinking of joining the industry, it's the right time to join. And there's people out there that can support you.
Yeah. And Jason, where can sort of listeners find you or your brokerage online?
Yeah, so you can go to jasonanbara.com. That'll go directly to my team. Or you can go to mortgageapprovalsottawa.com.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Now, I just wanted to follow up with one more thing. You mentioned that you have great training, and what would you say is one important thing that you would say to a newcomer coming in, that this is the type of training or this training you need to get when you first start?
Well, you got to show up to the office. You got to be in the office, even if you have no business to do. Sticking around here, listening to what's going on, listening to people talk on the phone, how they talk to clients, how they talk to realtors, how they talk to partners. Being here is better than not being here. So if you have nothing to work on, you have to be at the office. And then just being in the zone will create something for sure.
Almost by osmosis, right? You're there and you're around it. That's a fantastic piece of advice. I think too many people think that they can be successful in their little cubicle at home. And that's
no. You got to be in the zone. That's how it starts.
Fantastic.
Awesome, Jason. Honestly, thank you so much for being part of this. I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of today. So really, really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And we wish you
available anytime.
Yeah. Fantastic. We wish you that continued amazing success that you've been having. It's our sincere hope that continues on for the rest of your career until you're ready to buy a small heart-shaped island like Elon Musk and retire.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media, and for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.